Hey guys, what is up? It is StopMatt1998 here, and I am back with a brand new video. This is round 4 of my F1 2016 modded career mode with Freddie Gray, the season 3 of that series, and we are here today for the Russian Grand Prix at the Sochi International circuit. Obviously, this season it has been moved from the end of the season to the beginning of the season. Not quite sure why. I believe it was because Malaysia, they wanted to move it away from the monsoon season, so they put it just after Singapore. And last time out in China, he finished in a disappointing 8th place after quite a few incidents throughout the race, and the team were far from happy. So the relationship with them at the moment is not the greatest. He's going to have to try and improve that here, try and pull it back together in Russia with hopefully a good result. And first to come, guys, is obviously qualifying. So without further ado, let's get in to the qualifying report. Force India put in another impressive display with 6th and 8th, with German NICO HULKENBERG achieving the faster lap time. Haas F1 matched their grid positions from last time out in another uninspiring performance. PASCAL VEHRLEIN continued his good run of form off the back of his points finish in China. The power unit is less influential around Sochi, but this didn't help improve McLaren's qualifying. Red Bull squeezed into the top 10, with Danica Fiat being the faster of the pair. Since Melbourne, Renault have struggled for pace, and Sochi was a similar story, with Magnussen only achieving P13. Financial issues have prevented Sauber's progress this season, and another lackluster qualifying display just added to their woes. Toro Rosso agonisingly missed out on the top 10, as both Verstappen and Sainz were aiming for more points in the race tomorrow. VALTTERI BOTAS has yet to score a point this season, but qualifying made it 3-1 to the Finn in the battle with current championship leader Massa. Lewis Hamilton's streak of pole positions ended in Russia, with the Brit qualifying behind his teammate in 4th place. After a few shaky sessions, Freddie Gray sealed pole position by a mighty 5 tenths. It is now time for the Russian Grand Prix. So we are here for round 4 of the 2016 season, and Freddie Gray has sealed pole position for the Russian Grand Prix. Obviously his first of the season. After the first few rounds, qualifying went a little disappointingly, but Freddie really did step up his game for this session in particular, and really Rosberg, Hamilton and Vettel were just nowhere to be seen. They couldn't match him at all in qualifying, and actually look at that, on the radar there was a 36% chance of rain, so we could be seeing some changeable conditions like in China towards the end of this race. But yes, here we go now for Russia.
Let's put China behind us and bring home a victory today. Let's go!
And obviously with Freddie's dominance in qualifying, he's aiming to convert that into a race victory today, his second of the season, as the lights are illuminating above the drivers now. 5 red lights here. And we are underway now for the Russian Grand Prix, getting off to a good launch in comparison to Nico Rosberg behind us, already pulling away from the Mercedes drivers. We head now down into turn 1. From the cinematic view here, we should get a better sort of look at how the cars are battling behind us. Looks like Hamilton is going to the inside of his teammate Nico Rosberg. Can Lewis pull that one off, or is he going to back off as we massively cock up turn 1, locking up an absolute treat, losing us a bunch of time though. We were already ahead of the Mercedes, so we don't need to give the positions back or anything, but Lewis Hamilton is right on our gearbox now. What a start from the Brit. The Mercedes drivers moved up 2 positions ahead of Vettel and obviously his teammate Nico Rosberg. But Freddie now is basically in control of the race. He's just got to try and control the race now. Got to try and edge away from Hamilton and the likes of Rosberg, and hopefully Freddie can pull away from them and take his second victory of the season. But obviously, guys, there are still 26 laps in which anything can happen. Obviously, the rain is due later on, which can spice things up. Obviously, as we saw last time out in China, that basically ruined Freddie's race, unfortunately, those wet conditions. But already, look at the top left-hand corner. We've already lost 2 cars from this race. So maybe, obviously, Russia pretty much being a street circuit, mistakes are inevitable, so we could perhaps see a safety car at some point. But onto lap 3, guys, the dominance is real right now of Freddie, because we're already 2.8 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who's 6 cents behind him. Rosberg's a further 6 cents behind Vettel. Sebastian Vettel, thankfully, our teammate, has managed to jump Nico Rosberg, but obviously Freddie setting the fast lap of the race, a 1 minute 42.7, and it really has been a dominant display so far. Now 3.9 seconds, so almost a second in just a couple of seconds. And currently, guys, it doesn't look as if we're going to get much challenge in this first stint. Freddie driving incredibly well so far, but speaking of the retirements, once again, we have lost a further 2 cars. That's now 4 cars out of the Grand Prix as we now enter lap 4, but still no sign of the safety car as Freddie sets another purple lap time, another 1 minute 42 dead this time. And now later on into lap 4, so it looks as if the gap between Vettel and Hamilton's closed down dramatically. It's now 0.2 of a second, but looking on the mini-map behind, it looks as if the Mercedes of Rosberg and obviously our teammate, the yellow dot on the mini-map, Sebastian Vettel, are holding each other up, which makes me think they may have had a bit of an incident. Rosberg seems to be ahead for now, but I'm not entirely sure. We're going to have to see how that develops. Is one of them going to enter the pits? We're not entirely sure. It looks as if Rosberg has done, actually.
Okay, Freddie, that's a nicely controlled first stint. Box this lap for another set of options.
Yeah, that was perfectly put by our engineer. A very well crafted first hit, and that was really all Freddie needed to do, just to increase the gap to Lewis Hamilton behind, and that is exactly what he done. And now into the pits on lap 8, obviously, for another set of option tyres, as our engineer said. The rain doesn't seem to be on its way yet. I think that'll be more towards the end of the Grand Prix, but at the moment, the dominance is real right now. Freddie Gray really stamping his authority on the rest of the field. You know, after a difficult race last time out in China, obviously, the relationship with the team has been a little bit strained, but, you know, things seem to be going better. Freddie's going about his business very quietly, not getting involved in too many incidents, and hopefully he can stay out of the walls today. So yeah, thing on the option tyres now, and I believe Lewis Hamilton and I think Sebastian Vettel has carried on. So I think Vettel is currently in the lead. Lewis Hamilton did pit in behind. It'll be interesting to see where Rosberg actually rejoins. Obviously, he pitting after a bit of an incident with Sebastian Vettel on lap 4. Obviously, Freddie now setting the fast lap of the race on that fresh set of option tyres at 1:41.2. And the gap back to Lewis Hamilton is over 10 seconds, 11.1, and then Vettel is 5.2 seconds back. So currently, this race has been a procession, quite literally the definition of it. Just unfortunately a typical race you get around Russia. Let's hope the real life Grand Prix is not like this.
Okay, so we think there's going to be a possibility of rain in the next 5 minutes. Just continue to increase the gap to Hamilton.
Yep, so guys, we kind of jumped quite far in the race because it really was. There was just no action. Freddie had no challenge. The AI just were not quick enough. They simply could not keep up with him at all. And Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, I think Vettel was closing in on Hamilton. Hamilton, the gap between Freddie and him has stabilised slightly. But now here's a factor that could really spice up the race. Obviously, I'm fast forwarding the race a little bit here to when the rain falls because there's nothing else going on at the moment. And obviously, Freddie pitted in on the last lap for a set of medium tyres. Obviously, he's not going to get the option tyres to whenever the rain falls. There's no rain drops as of yet. It's still Vettel second and Hamilton in first, and Perez actually in a legitimate fourth. So Rosberg obviously has dropped back. That front wing change he had to do earlier on in the first stint has really hampered him so far. And still on lap 19, the rain is now beginning to fall. It's not quite heavy enough yet for obviously intermediate tyres. We're going to have to really time it well this time. Unlike we did in China, obviously a slight bit of miscommunication, but obviously Freddie's job now is just to keep the car on the track. The grip is falling ever so slightly, so I think Freddie does currently have it in the lean revs just to reduce the wheel spin out of the corners. So I think it will just be a couple of laps now before we pit in for those intermediate tyres. Now on lap 23, the rain has really picked up. And I think perhaps Freddie may have made a bit of a mistake here. The team did not call him in, but the track definitely does seem like it could be intermediate conditions very soon. Or maybe the Ferrari team could even want us to risk it and take the tyres to the end. The gap to Hamilton is ever increasing because Hamilton and Vettel are struggling even more than we are. But currently we have a backmarker ahead of us in the form of the Renault of JOLYON Palmer in P17. And he does just that. Closes the door on us, and now we've lost a little bit of our front wing. Obviously, a large contributor to that was the realistic damage. Well, it wouldn't have happened otherwise. But still, Palmer should have really gotten out the way a little bit more there. And I think this lap will be the time to pit unless our team say otherwise. There's no message yet, so Freddie obviously is assuming that he's going to have to go to the end. But look at the rain, it's really picking up. The intensity is ever increasing, and I think this could be a huge error here. Just look at that, he's gone straight on at the penultimate corner, so he's going to have to continue on another lap here. I think the gap back to Hamilton and Vettel is 20 seconds.
We'll fit the car with inters in the hope that we can get to the end, but beware. It'll be close at pit exit with Hamilton and Seb.
So, I'm still slightly confused to why the team are telling us to do that. Obviously, it would have made more sense to pit in this lap for a set of intermediate tyres. Obviously, it's probably not going to reach wet conditions before the end, but just look, Freddie's getting so much understeer, aquaplaning in these wet conditions, and he's clearly on the, the incorrect compound. There's so much wheel spin, even in 5th gear at the moment. Obviously, he's selecting the intermediate tyres now, but the rain is really picking up, getting incredibly heavy. I don't even know how Freddie's keeping it on the track here. He's doing very well at the moment, but the gap to Hamilton and Vettel is the most crucial part. do believe that, I mean, surely they've got to jump us here. Obviously, the engineers said it was going to be close between ourselves, Hamilton, and obviously Sebastian Vettel. So unless we have supreme pace in the intermediate conditions, I highly doubt we're actually going to win this race today. So the engineer and the Ferrari team have essentially lost us today's Russian Grand Prix. The gap behind to Hamilton is 24.7 seconds, but obviously that's ever decreasing as Freddie's getting no grip whatsoever from this last sector at all. We might be able to see Hamilton and Vettel on the mini-map very soon. Where are they? They should be coming towards the penultimate corner very soon. Now, we are fitting, obviously, the intermediate tyres, but obviously the front wing change as well, so that's going to help Freddie even more. And actually, looking at that, Hamilton and Vettel aren't actually as, you know, I thought they were going to jump us by an absolute mile, but it doesn't seem as if that will be the case. It'll only be around a second, so maybe without the front wing change, we would have emerged ahead. So that incident with Jolyon and Palmer has actually proven to be quite costly. And actually, look at that. I think without the front wing change, taking off a couple seconds on the pit stop, I think we would have been easily ahead of Vettel and Hamilton. But now, guys, we got a race in our hands. For the first time today, we might actually have some battling here between ourselves, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Hopefully the team allow us to battle with Seb after last time. Surely they can't be satisfied with this result after Freddie's earlier dominance, but currently on to lap 26, the penultimate lap of the Russian Grand Prix. It is a very small gap between Freddie, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton, but the spray is getting, you know, even more. The visibility is quite horrible at the moment. Freddie is really struggling to see, having to go to the inside away from Sebastian Vettel's car, who's picking up all the water and putting it right in his view. But everyone seems to be struggling for traction, hence the fact we can't overtake Vettel. As we go to the outside line here, we get a huge slide.
Okay, mate, the conditions are treacherous out there. Everyone seems to be aquaplaning. Take it cautiously and let's get both cars to the finish.
So that is really the message that Freddie did not want to hear. By no means is he satisfied with today's race, considering the dominance that he's had pretty much from start to finish. Apart from these last couple of laps, he's not going to take this today. Freddie Gray wants to get this win by all means, but it's just the traction. He's really struggling for any sort of grip out of the exit, and currently Sebastian Vettel is really defending quite well. He's just, no one can seem to get an equal, well, everyone seems to be getting equal exits out of the corners, which is just making it really difficult to have a run on anyone and overtake them. But I think Freddie's best opportunity yet will be on this back straight heading down into Sector 3, but now he just almost runs to the back of his teammate and just has to back off, so it's just really not working for him at the moment. You know, this race proved to be an extreme challenge, and basically the engineers have lost in this Grand Prix. Now onto the final lap. It's the cinematic views now. Freddie is absolutely desperate. He's not settling for this. He wants to take today's Russian Grand Prix victory. He's going to do all he can to do that. But it's looking very unlikely at the moment. It's looking very tough. This race has just been a real frustration for him. After dominating the early stages, just to be behind Vettel and obviously Lewis Hamilton at the moment, it's just a complete annoyance. But everyone seems to be getting wheel spin at the moment. It does seem to be now wet tyre conditions. So maybe Freddie could have pitted in on the last lap. Now heading now down onto the back straight for one final time. This is Freddie's really his only opportunity now to potentially overtake Vettel and maybe even Lewis Hamilton as well. Let's see what happens. We now head down the back straight, currently in rich mix, going to put it down probably into standard to make sure he gets a good exit through the final few corners. He dives down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, his teammate. He forced him off the track and Lewis Hamilton's spun off. Lewis Hamilton has lost it and somehow Freddie is now in the lead.
What the fuck was that?
Oh my word, what has just happened? Freddie has dived it down the inside of his teammate Sebastian Vettel. He is into the wall, has lost his front wing, but he is still in second place. However, look at the mini-map. Vettel has just rejoined from second. Hamilton has recovered from his spin. All the other cars now in the pits are wet tyres. No idea why. They haven't actually been lapped yet. But I think what Freddie's going to do here for sportsmanship behaviour is let Sebastian Vettel through. The relationship with the team before this race was in absolute tatters and it must have gone down the drain now. Absolutely, the team must be absolutely fuming as Vettel is now approaching the final corner. Freddie Gray's waiting there and Sebastian Vettel crossed the line to win the Grand Prix and Freddie Gray finishes in second place.
Alright, well done. A deserved victory based on the early dominance. Seb actually had a 20-second penalty, so letting him through at the end wasn't actually necessary. But good sportsmanship behaviour nonetheless.
So, I suppose tensions have been eased ever so slightly through that radio message at the end, but Sebastian Vettel very strangely had a 20-second time penalty. I don't quite see how that happened. I can obviously assume that perhaps the incident with Rosberg in the first stint may have caused that, but Lewis Hamilton in the end finished in second, with Sergio Perez again in third, his second podium of the season, and just a pretty mental race, guys, that ending especially. Bottas finishing in fifth for his first points of the season, Rosberg sixth, Ricciardo seventh, and Massa the championship leader in eighth. We're obviously going to be leading the championship now as a result of that Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz finishing in 9th, Hulkenberg in 10th, and PASCAL VEHRLEIN rounding out the points in 11th place. Now let's take a look at the championship standings. So as a result of that crazy ending, Freddie Gray now leads the Drivers' Championship with a total of 72 points. The gap back to Felipe Massa in second is now a total of 14 points, guys. Obviously, races like this are always going to happen. I know today's race was not the most exciting in the world apart from that ending, but the last two races, China and Russia, it was a bad race in China in terms of the driving, and today in Russia, it was just a little bit of a boring race. Obviously, it's going to happen throughout an F1 season, so it's really just to be expected. Hopefully, the next race in Spain is a little bit better. I'm sure it will be. Sebastian Vettel in third, now only 3 points behind Felipe Massa, with Lewis Hamilton in fourth thanks to his second place today. Very kind of strange really how Hamilton made that mistake, spun around just randomly. Never actually really seen the AI do that, but obviously the conditions got too much for him in the end. Sergio Perez in fifth, 9 points behind Lewis Hamilton for his second podium of the season that he's collected. And his teammate NICO Hulkenberg in sixth place, forcing India really stamping their authority on the rest of the field. Really doing a brilliant job this year. And Max Verstappen level with Hulkenberg, but Hulkenberg obviously has that podium to jump him ahead of the Dutchman. With Nico Rosberg in 9th, obviously Rosberg really has had a difficult season, to be honest. After winning the first season of this series, Rosberg just really hasn't carried on his form, so Nico Rosberg disappointing so far. Carlos Sainz in 10th with 14 points as well, and then Jenson Button rounding out the top 11 with 12 points. And now in the constructors' standings, Ferrari have got a huge lead out in front to Williams back in second with 68 points. Williams are currently on. Ferrari on 127. Really are completely dominating this season. The Mercedes just do not seem to be catching up anytime soon. It's in fact Force India in third with 51 points. Force India today picking up their third podium of the season, which is an interesting stat actually. Every time Force India have finished in the points this season, they've managed to achieve a podium. Perez in Bahrain, Hulkenberg in China, and Perez again in Russia. So brilliant form there on at the moment. Confidence must be running very high in that camp at the moment. Manor in 10th with 2, and Sauber rounding out the Constructors' Championship with 1. Subscribe if you're new to the channel for more videos like this. Obviously, today's race wasn't the most exciting in the world, but if you have missed any of the other episodes, go back and watch them. The playlist link will be down in the description below, and I'm sure future races will be even more exciting. So guys, I will see you next time for the Spanish Grand Prix. Bye-bye.